is Rick Neuheisel from CBS Sports. How are you, Coach?
Rich, I'm terrific. How are you?
I missed chatting with you. I'll be very honest.
I miss chatting with you. We'll have to do this more often. I thought it was kind of a Richard theme when I heard you had Rick Barry, Rich Eisen,
yes.
Rich Neuheisel.
Yeah.
I mean, we were a wealth of riches.
We are that. It's an embarrassment, if you will.
Embarrassment. Exactly. There you go. Thank you.
So why are coaches upset about the satellite camps tour that Harbaugh's on, do you think?
It has nothing to do with camps. It's really all about recruiting. And what the feeling is by those who are against them is that the effort is being put forth by the Jim Harbaughs of the world to go out and continue to recruit. By taking the camps away from Ann Arbor to go to places like, I think Jim's in Mississippi today.
He is that.
It's so that he can get down there and recruit the kids that he has targeted in the state of Mississippi by bringing a camp to them, which is more convenient for them to attend and create dialogue and conversation there. Those that are against that say we have a recruiting calendar. We have opportunities to go and evaluate in the months of the second half of April and the month of May. We have contact periods that begin around Thanksgiving time so that you can have these kind of conversations. We have the opportunity to talk on the telephone once during the evaluation period and numerous times during the contact period. Do we really want to extend the recruiting calendar? And those like Jim Harbaugh are on the other side of things saying, hey, listen, we're promoting football. We want to take football everywhere. I think there are 39 stops on the Harbaugh tour this year. Not that he'll be at all of them, but Michigan football will be represented 39 times, and it's about, getting out there and promoting football. It isn't about recruiting and so forth. So therein lies the line in the sand. There are those that are, wanting to say that they don't want to extend the recruiting calendar and thereby saying no more to satellite camps, also to protect some sacred family time. So, this is the time of year for coaches to get with their kids, get with their wives, and reintroduce themselves, because this is pretty much a 24/7 job once the season begins.
So those who think that Harbaugh should not be allowed to be there because they think he's recruiting a specific athlete in Mississippi, do they think then that the fact that this camp is open to middle schoolers and young high schoolers that are not to be recruited right now, that's just a cover for what Harbaugh's trying to do?
They see a dual purpose, but the reason for the camps is primarily because of that marquee player or players that they have the opportunity to go and spend some time with. And, individual conferences, Rich, for many years had rules against this. It wasn't an NCAA rule, but when Jim Harbaugh made it so public last year as he was out, on the front pages of the magazines and the front pages of newspapers and websites, basically traveling the country, it became a firestorm of opinion as to what's the proper place. And I think it will be the subject of much conversation in terms of the rule makers as we get into legislation a year from now.
Rick Neuheisel joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. And so this is fascinating to me, Rick, because it seems to me that Harbaugh, when he got to work at Michigan, realized that he's got to build up the brand and he's got to get out there, and he loves football and he needs to start the process of getting the cupboard filled up.
Right.
And he saw that this is allowable under the rules to get out there and go on a barnstorming tour. And if his family life is solid enough that he could basically kiss the wife and kids goodbye in times where they need to be reintroduced to one another, then what the hell? Go ahead and do it. It seems to me that that's what's happening. Right
100%, that's what's happening, and he is a genius for taking advantage of it. Much to the chagrin of those who want to speak loudly against it, the truth of the matter is it's completely against the rules, and it's in line with what he did over spring football, right? He took his spring football week and went to Bradenton, Florida, on the campus of the IMG Academy, and had basically a week of football practice in the sunshine state of Florida. Away from Ann Arbor, away from the cold, and because there was a place in the rules that allowed for that. Other coaches actually wanted to go and watch the practices, but they couldn't do so because the rules didn't allow you to go off campus to attend something, but you could have practice in and of by itself. and he did that to the tune of $342,000. That's what the bill was to take his team there for that 5-day period. So he is absolutely moving at breakneck speed to try to get Michigan football back to the very, very top.
So, but it's not just a Michigan thing. It's also a Big Ten thing. I mean, Pac-12 voted darn near unanimously to keep these satellite camps up and running. To what benefit is it to other conferences?
Well, it's a benefit to everybody, truthfully. I mean, if you want to go out and to spend some time, there was a camp just yesterday in Houston where, probably 15 of the top 50 schools in the country had coaches there. So if you get a chance to go and evaluate and to spend time watching kids with your own eyes rather than on videotape or what have you, film, it always is the best form of evaluation. And it's also an opportunity to get and spend some time with guys on other staffs and share ideas and so forth. So it's really good. It's in some ways a reaction to some basically outdated rules that the NCAA has that don't allow coaches to go and watch what we call combines. Mm-hmm. You spend a great portion of your year down there in Indianapolis watching the NFL Combine. College, high school athletes have a bunch of these as well, but college coaches are precluded from going to them. You can't. The rules say you can't. So we get film of them, but it's not the same as actually being there. So now these camps being run by independent parties where they can have some combine-type activities as well as some instruction done by these individual coaches is good for everybody to get a chance to get eyes on these very talented youngsters.
But is that something with Rick Neuheisel of CBS, is that what Nick Saban was referring to last week where he said it's like the Wild West, that he doesn't know who's running these camps? Suddenly they're using his name?
And he's right, in my opinion. Right. That he's right that there is no hard line in terms of clarity as to who's running. Did the kid actually pay for the camp? And who's going to monitor what kind of conversation that kid has with all these guys? Is this an instruction camp, or is it, can I get Johnny over here to the corner to tell him all about my dear old you? And there is some merit to what Coach Saban has to say, because it is a little bit the wild, wild west with respect to who's running these camps. As he pointed out, when we're at Alabama, we can make sure that every I is dotted and T is crossed with respect to the NCAA rules. When these camps are run by independent third parties, you bring into that mix what we all kind of are nervous about as we look back into the AAU stories in basketball, that third-party guy that always gets his hands in the mix. So
what's the upshot on everything, Rick, that those types of camps will still be unregulated, and Harbaugh will be able to still do what he's doing, although not allowed to take pictures with high schoolers or sign autographs?
which is a complete overreaction.
I mean, but that's...
I mean, you can't take a picture with a kid. I mean, all these, you mentioned the middle schoolers and the moms and dads driving to, come to the different locations.
They're fired up.
They want to meet the coach. I mean, Jim Harbaugh's a celebrity. He's the head coach of the University of Michigan. I mean, you ought to be able to take a photo with the guy, but once again, a little bit overboard with reaction to all this. I think this will all, be as it is for this particular year, and then calmer heads will sit down and figure out what we want to do going forward, because there has to be some organization to it so that we don't have the Harbaugh versus Saban battle as we go forward. Rick, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Come on in here next time, okay? I look forward to it, my friend. Good to see you. That's Rick Neuheisel right here on The Rich Eisen Show, CBS Sports. He was Emmy nominated.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.